Hello, ladies and gentlemen, I am OddyC and this is episode 1 of the RocketPod Manual. In this series we're going to be giving you lots of practical tips and tricks on all things Rocket League, with today's session being all about how to improve your teamwork and coordination. To this end, here are 7 top tips on teamwork that I've learned in my time playing Rocket League. Number 1. Keep your distance from one another. The cardinal rule in the sense that it is as important as it is ignored. Particularly the case with pub matches where you're playing with people you don't know, it's always so important to be mindful of your surroundings, not just where the ball is, but where your teammates are. If you're all in the same place, heading towards the ball, then you're putting your entire team at risk, because if you don't get the ball, then you're all out of position. Think of it like a turn-based game, like a game of chess. After you make your move, take a moment to re-evaluate where your team is, what they're doing, and what role you should be fulfilling on the team at that moment. Number 2. Always communicate your roles in a kickoff. Hopefully most of you have figured out the basics of the kickoff by now. If you're nearest the goal, then you stay in the goal. If you're nearest the ball, you go for the ball. The leftover player generally goes to collect the nearest 100% boost, but their role is a little bit more lenient. But the most important thing is to always have a player in goal during the kickoff, one who stays in the goal until they're sure they can leave safely. The reason it's important to communicate your roles before a kickoff is that sometimes the game places you the same distance away from the ball as your teammate. In that situation, who goes for the ball and who ends up defending? You have to work it out for yourself. Use the quick text chat feature to say take the shot or defending if you want to defend, or say I've got it if you want to go for the ball. But whatever you do, communicate clearly and make sure you do not leave your goal undefended. So many goals in Rocket League happen within 5 seconds of a kickoff. Make sure it doesn't happen to you. Number 3. Always be mindful of your backline. What's the secret to an impregnable defense? You need great timing and judgment, quick reactions, and once you get into the higher tiers you must have at least a competent grasp of aerials, because otherwise there will be shots that you can never reach in time to save them. But this is not the most important thing in my opinion. Let's all just take a moment and think about the kind of goals that you or your team let in on a daily basis. How many of them were caused simply by the lack of a backline player? How many would have been saved if that player on your team had stayed behind rather than go in for that aerial shot? What if that player had been you? Again, think about your positioning and what role your team needs you to play at that moment. You don't need to be the greatest goalkeeper in the world. As long as you remain mindful of your backline, the other skills will come in due time. Number 4. Let your teammates know how much time they have. Many times during a match, your teammate might be in a position where they can't see the enemy players. It might be that they're trying to control the ball, but they're facing your own half, or they're facing the wall, and they can't keep track of where the other players are on the pitch. In that moment, they rely upon their teammates for aid. It makes a huge amount of difference to be trying to control the ball and to hear from your teammate, it's okay, they're not going for you, you've got time. And it's just as useful to hear them say, he's coming towards you, or he's on your tail. Simple statements like these provide valuable information to your teammate and let them know whether they need to just tap the ball away from the opponent, or whether they have time to pull off a good pinch against the wall, or even to leave the ball and pick up the boost they sorely needed. Keep the lines of communication up at all times. Number 5. Always say whether a shot is on target or not, even if it seems obvious. On the subject of keeping the lines of communication open, if your opponent takes a shot, depending on your position, it can be very difficult to gauge whether it needs saving or not. And that is important because if you go up into the air to save a shot you thought was going in, only to realise that it was going to go wide or above the crossbar, then you may have sacrificed your positioning for nothing. That's why it's so important to always say whether a shot is on target or not the moment you realise it, even if it seems obvious, because sometimes your teammate, especially if they're in goal, might find it very difficult to gauge. If you're not sure whether it's on target or not, then say it's going in to be on the safe side. Just whatever you do, keep the lines of communication open. Number 6. Compliment each other and don't hold grudges. Your team is going to make mistakes. Some mistakes might have been caused by you, some might have been caused by your teammates. Don't let it get to you. Don't hold grudges, move on. If you give your team a hard time, you're affecting the morale of everyone involved, and you are directly responsible for the consequences. Believe it or not, morale is a huge factor in a team's ability to play well together. So why not help your team by saying nice shot when they take a nice shot, or what a save when they pull off a great save? Little compliments like that are in the quick chat for a reason. They let your team know that you're happy with them and you've got their back. Be nice, it helps. Number 7, trust your teammates. You're heading towards a ball, you think you might have a good shot, you're not certain. Suddenly, you hear your teammate yell, "Leave it, I've got it." What do? That depends on the trust you place in your teammate and in their skill. I'm here to tell you that more often than not, you should take the risk and trust your teammate to have pulled you away from the ball for good reason. They might miss, they might have made a mistake, it might have been better if you had taken the shot, but don't hold that against them. It's better to take the chance. Stubbornly taking the shot anyway and ignoring your teammate is a great way of increasing conflict between you and decreasing confidence in your team. Because if you have to compete with your own team as well as the enemy team, you aren't going to feel too great about it. The bottom line is that you should make an effort to trust your team to do the right thing. You might lose out on a few opportunities, but in the long run it will be better for you. Trust is an essential trait of the very best teams in the world, so follow their example. So that's it for this episode, and I hope I've given you at least something you can take with you onto the pitch that will help you become a better team player. Subscribe to our channel to keep an eye on future episodes of the RocketPod Manual, and if you want to leave a like or comment, then please feel free to do so. In the meantime, you can head on over to the Rocket League subreddit for all things Rocket League. Thank you very much for watching, and I will see you next time. Bye. Coordinating fantastically, and look at this
really
shot!
Are.
Oh, Lachinio with the reverse aerial in midair, just hanging there trying to get a little tap, but just not quite in.
Bounces off the post. Sad Junior doing some kind of a handstand there. Oh, drop shot comes in. Oh, knocks it in off the crossbar, and now it's back out. It's dangerous. Sad Junior flicks it up. Oh, that was very dangerous for a moment there. It still is.
Oh, Lachinio is just a brick wall right now, and Fun Dip is in goal as well. They're being very defensive at the moment because look at Sad Junior and Pronovi. The aerial control is just that. It's just a barrage of attacks.
It is.
And Gibbs coming in as well.
So difficult to beat these two in the air.